this side, they are starting to ripen on up. This particular tree is as old as I am at least. So I'm excited to go see what the other fig trees have in store for us.
Thank you, family, for joining me this evening here at the Honey House. We are heavily into the fig season, and so we are super excited about preserving these figs so that we'll have enough to last us until next season. So join me this evening while we preserve figs, and we're going to preserve them as strawberry flavored fig preserves. Now we will show you at what point to stop and jar up if you're not interested in adding the strawberry gelatin, but then we'll go ahead and finish the process up and preserve the strawberry ones as well. And that way you can see both points. Now I have been preserving figs for the earlier in this week. So I also have some whole figs in there as well. So I can show you what those look like in the jar. And then we can actually, if you are interested in that recipe, because it is just a little bit different than the one that I'll be showing you this evening, just leave me a comment in the section below and I will make sure you get that recipe as well. So if you are interested in preserving some figs, grab your apron and join me in the kitchen this evening at Sweet Bee's Honey House as we preserve figs.
Family, just look at those figs. They are so yummy. Now the first step that we need to take is we need to steep the figs. All you do is take a pot of boiling water, and we just want to cover these figs with that hot boiling water, and we want to do that for 10 minutes. Now this serves multiple purposes. Now these figs have already been washed, but you'll see that there's still a little bit of residue on the figs, and that's going to help get them off. But when you're cutting figs, there's a milky substance that comes out of off of the fig tree, and that milky substance, by steeping them, it's going to help get that sticky stuff off of here. And then it's also going to serve the purpose of tendering up our figs, so that, and to help them to absorb the flavors that we're going to be adding. So the sugar, and in this case, since we're doing strawberry figs tonight, it's going to allow it to absorb that gelatin even better, because we're going to steep them. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to put you on hold for just a minute while I go gather up that hot boiling water, and we're going to go ahead and cover these yummy figs with that so they can steep for 10 minutes. Now we're going to just pour the boiling water directly over the figs and make sure that they're covered. And then we're going to let that sit for 10 minutes, and then we'll bring you back for the next step of the process. Now that these have steeped for 10 minutes, we're going to go ahead and drain them, and then we're going to take the stems off as well as chop them up and get them ready for cooking. Okay, family, now that our figs has steeped, it's time for us to go ahead and cut them up. And you can leave them whole and cook them whole as well, but we're chopping these up more for preserves. I don't want them whole. I've already done as many of them that I'm going to do whole. So we're just going to chop these up. It helps them to cook faster. And so we're just going to go ahead and get these chopped up after we remove all the stems. And here's one right here, the stem's still on it. We're just removing that stem. And we're going to just continue to chop these. We're shooting for 2 quarts at least. That's what my recipe calls for. And you don't have to worry about writing down anything. I'm going to go ahead and post at the end, where you can screenshot it, the recipe I'm going by tonight. So we're just going to continue to chop these up until I get the 2 quarts, and then I will bring you back when we start the next step of this preservation process, which will be starting to cook the figs down. So I'll bring you back in just a few minutes. Family, we've got our 2 quarts of figs in our boiler. I added 3/4 of a cup of water to this. And so now I'm going to add the sugar. This is 6 cups of sugar that we're going to add. I'm going to go ahead and stir that up. And then we're going to just let this simmer. And we're going to let it simmer for a good long while. And I'll bring you back after I get the figs all nice and doused in the sugar and mixed up. I'll bring you back when we start to go into our simmer. Okay, now all of our sugar is mixed together and it's melted down, and you can see there's lots and lots of juices there. So we are going to bring this up to a boil, and after we get it to a boil, we're going to reduce the heat and we're going to put it on a simmer and let it simmer. And in the instructions it says until it gets thick. So when I've made this in the last few days, it's been anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour. So we're just going to play it by ear and do some tests. And I'll show you how to do those tests as well. Now while we're doing this, I'm going to go ahead and get the electric Presto canner. I'm going to get it set up to use and get our jars in there so they can be sterilizing. Because with this, because it's only a 5-minute water bath, we want to make sure that we sterilize those jars before we put the figs in it. So I'll bring you back in just a minute so you can see how we prep that. Okay, so this is the liner that goes inside the pressure canner, and so the electric pressure canner. So what we're going to do is we put different size jars in there. It doesn't matter between the pints and the half pints on the processing time. It's still going to be 5 minutes. And I wanted a variety because I'm going to show you how I actually put a little more figs in this go round than the recipe calls for, just so I could pull some out beforehand that's going to be just plain fig and not have the strawberry gelatin added. So you can see the difference between the two whenever we get it processed. So we're going to go ahead and we filled each one of the jars up with water, and then we filled the water in this. Since this is going to be a water bath can, we're going to make sure that our jars are covered by 1 inch. Now each one of these is up to the neck right now, but as we start filling the jars, we're going to pour this water back into the canner. So right now we're just sterilizing our jars. So we're going to go ahead and pick this whole liner back up and put it inside the canner and start that process. And I'll bring you back whenever we start that. Okay, family, here we go. We're going to go over this again. I know this is repetition for some of you that's been following the videos, but trust me, repetition is a good teacher. So when you turn on the pressure canner to begin with, it comes up with asking you what you want to do. Do you want a pressure can? With one flick of the dial, let me pull this back just a little bit so you can see the dial down here at the bottom. It goes over to water bath can. We are wanting to water bath can. So we tell it water bath can, and then we hit the go button. And then it asks me how many minutes. It starts off at 5, and then yes, that's what we want is 5. So I'm going to hit the go button again. Now it's going to tell me insert your jars so they can be sanitized. So we went ahead and put those jars in. We filled them with water. We've got water in the pressure canner, and so we're going to hit go. And now it's heating up the interior. So we're going to go ahead and let that continue, and then whenever it's time to fill those jars, they'll be nice and hot, just like our figs. Okay, family, our figs have now come up to a boil, and I've reduced the temperature on them. So now they're just simmering. And so we're going to go ahead and set the timer for about 20 minutes. And we're going to keep coming back and checking and stirring on them, just because we do not want that sugar to stick to the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and just keep coming back and stirring, but we're going to check it after 20 minutes to see how thick our syrup is at that point. So I'll bring you back whenever we start to check them again. It has actually been about an hour, and our figs are thickening up. We want to make sure that that syrup is as thick as we want it. So what I've done is I have placed a plate in the freezer.
going to take this really cold plate and we're going to dip a little bit of our syrup on that plate. And then we're going to run our finger through that syrup. And if the syrup runs back into the lane that we've created, then it's not ready yet. But if you see it staying in its lane, so we're going to go ahead and call this a night, which means I'm going to add some jelly next. Add some lemon juice next. The recipe calls for 1/4 of a cup. So we're going to add that lemon juice next, and then we're going to bring it back up to a boil. And I'll bring you back whenever we've boiled it for 1 minute. All right, family, at this point, you can just preserve these just like they are right now. This is how we normally do it, just for our regular figs. I am going to go ahead and dish out, since I had added extra to begin with, I am going to dish out a couple jars just so that I could preserve them. And then I'm going to bring you back right after we add the gelatin. And this is just the regular jello that you can get in the grocery store. And we just add a box of it to the remainder of what we are going to take a little bit out, but then we'll add that one box to make a strawberry flavored fig preserve. And I'll bring you back when we start that process. Okay, family, I am wanting a couple of my half pint jars with some of this. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up a couple of my jars just so I can have it in the canner as well. So we're going to go ahead and just add the figs that I haven't added any gelatin to yet, and I'm going to make sure that that's a 1/4 of an inch headspace in my jars. And remember, I've got these 4 jars canning funnel. It has the measurements built in. Because we're dealing with a liquid at this point, because the syrup is still really runny at this point, you do not need to debubble or anything. So we're going to remove our 4 jars canning funnel, and then we're going to take a wet paper towel, either with hot water or with vinegar, and we're going to wipe the rim of our jar. Hopefully that won't be messing up. And this is going to take the residue off. It's also going to allow you to feel the rim of that jar to make sure that there's no imperfections in that, because we don't want anything messing up our seal. So we've got our lid put on, and remember, these are hot jars, and the liquid, and the jam that or the preserves that we're putting in here is really hot as well. We're going to make that fingertip tight, and now we can put that in our canner. Okay, family, next we're going to add our gelatin. And as I stated before, this is just a regular box of Jello strawberry gelatin, and we're just going to add that to our mix. And we're going to just stir that around. And oh, it's a yummy, yummy scent. Brings back a lot of childhood memories, let me tell you. And now we're ready to just ladle that into our jars. And so the rest of these is just going to be straight strawberry fig. So again, I'm going to use my funnel and ladle them into the jars, giving myself 1/4 of an inch headspace. A little bit over on this one, so we're going to make sure we pull that back out
for just 1/4 of an inch. Now we're ready to move that funnel over, wipe that lid or that rim, and now we're ready for our lid and our ring. And I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these, and I'll bring you back when we put them in the canner. All right, family, if you'll notice down here it says fill jars. So that's exactly what we did. We filled the jars. So now we're going to put the lid on, and then I'll bring you back after I put the lid on, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, here we go. It says install or remove, so you're going to line that up here, and then we're going to twist that to put it in the lock position. And we don't have to worry about the regulator because we're not pressure canning this, so it's going to vent no matter what. So then we're going to go ahead and lock the locking mechanism in, and then we're going to hit the start button. And so it'll give that we have 5 minutes, so it's going to heat that water back up. We made sure before we put the lid back on it that it was covered, so all of our jars are covered 1 inch over their tops. And so now we're just going to wait the 5 minutes, and then it'll let us know when it's time that we can remove these jars from the canner. I'll bring you back then. All right, family, it says it's all done. So I'm going to go ahead and let me ease you up. I don't want to make you seasick. So we're just going to go ahead and open up this valve, and then we're going to turn from the lock position to the remove and install, or install and remove position. We're going to lift that and make sure you lift it away from you so you don't get any steam burn. And now we're ready to take these jars out and place them on our drying pad. So we'll go ahead and do that, and I'll bring you back. I'm going to try to do this one-handed without bringing the stand out for my phone. Okay, so we are just lifting these straight up. Don't tilt it one way or the other, just bringing it straight up and then placing it on the drying or the cooling pad. So I'll do another one straight up. Oh, that one's a little, you hear that click? We already got the first seal. Straight up, and then put it on the drying pad. I'll go ahead and finish the rest of these, and I'll bring you back. All right, family, I just want to show you this one right here. This is our regular fig. That one right there is our strawberry fig. I'm going to pan you over just a little bit. And that's our whole figs. We did those the other night. And as I said, if you want the recipe for that one, just comment below and I'll send it to you. It's done just a little bit different than the one that we did tonight. But that's 3 different ways of preserving figs. And thank you so much for joining me. Sorry about bouncing you back between here and the main hive, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, I guess. So thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. And we will see you again soon. And keep preserving and keeping for your future, making sure that you know exactly what your family's getting. Enjoy, everyone. See you soon. Oh goodness, there's a little left over. I know exactly what we can do with that. Okay, before it gets too much later, I figured I'd go ahead and show you how we really enjoy using our fig preserves. So first thing we're going to do, I wanted to show you off my pan. This is my great-grandmother's pan, her cast iron, and this is what I love to make pancakes in. So I've got some real butter on the top there that we're allowing to melt, and I've got my pancake mix, and I can share that with you at a later date. We've got it sitting, resting for a little bit so that the leavening agent can rise in it. So as soon as we get that ready to go, I'll bring you back so you can see us bake up a couple pancakes so that we can enjoy our fig preserves. So we just dipped out a couple tablespoons of our batter into our cast iron pan, and we're going to let that heat up. It takes about a minute or so on each side, to fully cook. So we're gonna go ahead and let that cook, and I'll bring you back when we flip it. All right, family, you see these little bubbly holes that are forming on the top of the pancake? That means it's almost time to flip it. So it takes about 2.5 minutes maybe, depending on, now we cook really slow, so we cook it low and slow. So we usually put it on like a 4 setting, and then we just let it naturally get there, and then we flip it. So I'm gonna try, I'm not gonna promise anything, but I'm gonna try not to jiggle you. Uh-oh, got my finger in the way. I'm trying not to jiggle you too much. I'm gonna try to flip this while I've got the camera in the other hand. So there we go. Look at that. Golden goodness. So we'll go ahead and cook it for another minute or two on this side, and then this one will be ready to go. Family, this is what we do with the leftovers. As I said before, we love having the strawberry figs with our pancakes and with our waffles. So this is a yummy treat for us this evening. So I appreciate you joining me.